you ready?
Yep.
Okay, now I'm going to show you how to center clay. Okay, start by putting the clay in the center of the wheel, smack it around a little bit, make a nice dome shape, mash down the edges, and now take 2 fingers in your right hand, seal that down to the wheel head. Now I'm going to take water, get the clay wet. Now I'm going to lean into it by putting my elbow inside my leg and leaning into the clay and move the clay. Keep some pressure on the top. Take control of the clay early. Now this is called coning up. All I'm doing is grabbing the bottom of the clay using pressure with this part of my hand, lifting it up, and I'm going to push it back down. I do this for larger amounts of clay. It's almost centered. Now the position of my hands, you should be like this. Sometimes I'll turn my hand to the side like that. Okay? This hand's really stiff as I lean into the clay. You can see I can move the clay by changing the pressure points. Hold it steady. Sometimes you need to cone up again. And that's centered. Now I'm going to open the clay. Clean up your wheel a little bit.
Can you explain what opening is?
Opening is putting a hole in the center of the clay. So I'm going to take my 2 thumbs, put them together, and not touch the outside of the clay. Both my arms are resting on my legs. I'm going to make a target in the center of the clay. Again, the wheel speed is fast. And now I'm going to push straight down with my thumbs and stop before I get all the way to the bottom. Now I'm going to stop the wheel, take my pen tool, check the thickness. That's pretty close. I want to go a little bit thinner, about 1/4 of an inch is what you want. So if it's not deep enough, you just start again, get the speed going again, push down a little more. Now I know that's good, so I'm not going to check it again. Now I want to open the bottom without opening the top too much. So the way I do that, I'm going to take my right hand, and it's going to go inside the pot. These fingers are going to brace that finger. This finger does most of the work. My left hand holds my right hand. I'm going to curl my fingers towards me, which stretches the bottom out. Okay, trying to keep it as flat as possible. Again, just fast with the wheel speed. And steady with your hands. Release slowly so it stays on center. Now you can look inside here. You can see that it's relatively flat. Now I'm going to compress the clay, starting at the center of the clay and working out to 3 o'clock. Just to the right. Work in a straight line. Compress the bottom. Make it nice and flat. This will help you keep from getting cracks in the bottom of your clay. Also make sure you have a nice flat bottom inside. If you're want to make a spiral, now's the chance. Now I'm going to slow down a little bit. What I'm going to do next, because I have more clay, I'm going to do a shaping pull, which moves this sort of like a volcano shape. Okay? So it's almost like recentering. My wheel speed slowed down. Most of this is done with my outside hand. Inside hand is just a guide. This just helps even out the clay when I start to pull. Okay, now I'm going to start to pull. So now my inside hand is going to be my left hand. And everything, and all my hand positions start right here, between 3 o'clock and 6 o'clock on the watch face. Okay, somewhere in here where it's comfortable. So these fingers are going to be pushing out at the bottom, and this hand is going to be like this, this, and this. And it's going to go right here. Push in, push out, go up together. Your hands have to stay together. And I'm pushing out, pushing in. I go to the top. Once I get there, stop, sit, and release slowly. That way it keeps it round. Anytime you release too fast, you could have a chance of making it oval or off center. And I go back to the bottom and start again. Pushing out, you can see the clay move out right there. Push in. I use just enough pressure to move the clay. Any more it can tear. Any less, you're not really doing anything. I usually keep a sponge in my right hand as I make bigger pots. I can squeeze the sponge and water will come out and keep the pot wet as I go, so my hands don't stick on the pot.
I only did it like last class, but I know.
Push out again, push in. Now, as the clay gets thinner, I use less pressure. And I also changed my hand position. I started to use my fingertips instead of my knuckle because there's less clay. But my thumb is still in the same place. And my fingers approach it this way because the clay is coming around. I wanted to meet my fingers that way instead of like this where it runs into it. Stay in a straight line as you pull up. Anytime I release pressure, I release to the inside, so I maintain control of the clay. And I stop, always stop at the top. Then I check the rim and set it. I'm not putting a lot of pressure here, I'm just keeping it round. Probably one more will do it. It's really thin here. I'm just trying to get the clay off the bottom. Now I'm going to take a rib and just straighten out the wall and stop. So I use the rib, I use the straight side of the rib. I'm going to chop down some of the bottom here. And now with the edge of the rib, I want to make sure that it's slightly open so that it's accepting the clay. If you do it this way, your rib's going to get stuck. I'm pushing the clay from the inside out to the rib. The rim again. And that's how you make a cylinder. That's good.
Yeah.